Hi, good evening, everyone. We are here once again for another workshop for TezAsia. I'm Ivan Larin from TZ APAC. I'll be your host for tonight. And this evening we have Chaitanya, who is the co-founder of WeFuzz and creator of Chinstrap, who will be talking about how to learn Tezos smart contract development for today. Yeah, Chaitanya, I'll pass it to you.
Yes. Hello. My name is Chaitanya. You guys can call me Chai. I go by the name Antagonist on Twitter and GitHub. If you want to follow me or reach out to me. So uh, my screen is visible, right?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, today we'll learn about Chinstrap and how to use Chinstrap for building, testing, and deploying Tezos smart contracts. Tezos smart contracts like Chinstrap supports both SmartPy and all the Lego contracts. So this basic introduction for about me. So I'm co-founder and hacker at vfuzz.io. My background is auditing and bug bounties vulnerability research, blockchain smart contract security, and also fuzzing. Even I made one fuzzer for Tezos smart contracts, which is available on my GitHub repo if anyone is interested. And you can reach out to me here. So yes, what will be uh, doing today. So we'll be learning Chinstrap introduction. We'll see how command line client works for this. Also, we'll try to build and test SmartPy. We'll also see how Lego contracts works, and we'll see Sandbox, local flex test Sandbox, how to control it with Chinstrap, and also we'll try to originate some SmartPy contracts onto our local net. So yeah, so this is how Chinstrap has started. Like initially, when I was learning to build smart contracts on Tezos, Truffle got the Truffle suite from Ethereum. It was supporting Tezos, but they deprecated the entire support. So I was missing this tool set, so I started building it. Later made it open source, applied for Tezos Foundation grant. We got the grant. Now we are working on this. It's completely written in Python and it's completely open source. You can see the repo here. Currently, it's at version 1.1.2. I just made a push just now, so it's 1.1.2. All the documentations are clearly here available here. So yeah, so this is how Chinstrap's UI looks like, TUI looks. So we'll go through the kind of crash course for Chinstrap. So these are the prerequisites. Since Chinstrap is written in Python, you need Python, and we need Docker. Using Docker, Chinstrap compiles Lego and SmartPy contracts, and Node.js is kind of requirement for SmartPy. So there's the installation steps for macOS. You just tap using brew, and you install libsodium, lib, secp, and GMP libraries. On Ubuntu, it's the same. And then to install Chinstrap, we just do pip3 install Chinstrap. It just installs all the things. Once we have Chinstrap installed, we have to get the compilers downloaded because Chinstrap just installs itself. After that, we have to initialize our local environment. We do that by running Docker, and then we just do Chinstrap install. When you run Chinstrap install command, it installs both Lego and SmartPy. You can, if you are only writing contracts in SmartPy, you can just install SmartPy compiler as well. Chinstrap install -h will show those options. So yeah, to initialize a Chinstrap project, Chinstrap gives you this command Chinstrap init, which quickly sets up a new Chinstrap project. So you just create a directory as shown here, like make dir Chinstrap hello world. You just cd into it and just runs Chinstrap init. And Chinstrap init -s, like Chinstrap init has a couple of flags to it. Like one is -f, which will force reinitialize all the contracts. So it will just delete all the local folders and create again the contract and all this. With -s, it creates Chinstrap project with sample contract test and deployment scripts. I'll later on show the structure of the directory. So yes, so this is how Chinstrap project structure looks like. So once you run Chinstrap init, it creates contracts, originations, and test directory, and a file called chinstrapconfig.yaml. So in the contracts directory is where we write our contracts. So that's a folder that contains all the Lego or SmartPy contracts. And originations is where we write our origination scripts in Python. That's the deployment scripts where we initialize our storage and then deploy it to the networks that we are interested in. And test is the folder where we write our tests. It's Python tests. So I'm currently working on writing support for JavaScript tests as well. So Chinstrap config is where we have the actual configuration for Chinstrap. So this is how a basic Chinstrap configuration looks like. So Chinstrap under network, we configure the network we want to work with. For example, here it's configured to work with development, where our local sandbox is running, localhost 20,000 port, and accounts is a list of private keys that we can use for deployments. So here in private key file, I have a file named .secret, which contains the private key that we use for deployment, like that I used for deployment here. And we can configure compiler. So this is the main configuration file to tell Chinstrap which language your contracts in and which language your tests are in. So here, if you see lang, it says SmartPy, and it says tests are written in SmartPy. So best part about Chinstrap, you can write smart contracts in any language, and you can keep tests in any other language. So you can mix and match. So the supported languages, currently it supports everything: SmartPy, Camel Lego, Pascal Lego, Reason Lego, JS Lego. Even for the test, it's the same. Besides that, it supports PyTest. So these are the main steps to main steps in the lifecycle of smart contracts. So we compile, like we write code first. We then compile, we run tests, we then deploy it. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. So yeah, so this is a sample contract that you can see on the right side. SmartPy's contract. We can compile it, test it, and originate it. I'll show all the steps. So yes, now I'll show. Let's see. So let's say make dr Chinstrap. Hello. So this is an empty directory. I'll just open it in my Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, it's empty. So I initialize the project. Is the font too small?
It's fine. It's fine.
Hello. Okay.
It's fine.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chinstrap init. So I'm gonna do it with -s. It creates sample. You can see here. So that's the structure. I'll show it in the code. So yeah, so this is a sample configuration file that it generated. So this is how it starts. Like, so we can configure here networks. If, for example, I want to work on Jakarta, I just uncomment this, add my keys. It uses this as the RPC server where we deploy all the contracts. So this is the structure. So in contracts, we have a sample contract, which is in SmartPy. It just has increment as entry point and decrement as entry points. If you see, the tests are not here, like, which is the usual case in SmartPy. If you are just using SmartPy, using SmartPy's IDE and all, you just add tests here, like in the same file. So, but Chinstrap, you can keep them separate. For example, the tests for this are in test folder here. So dev test, you can keep adding tests and scenarios here. So for example, if I want to test this sample contract, you just import it using the same way you do it on SmartPy. sp.io import script from URL. You just import it here. Now, so, and this is origination. I'll explain what origination file is in next step. So to compile these contracts, right? So we have a flag called, we have a subcommand called compile, and it has all these flags. So you can either compile one contract at a time, and you can mention if you want to use use the SmartPy or Lego compiler that's installed on your local machine. If this -l is not provided, it uses the Docker image and it pulls those images. So Docker images, grab, that's a SmartPy. So yes, so it pulls from there. It's the same for Lego as well. So let's try to compile now. So Chinstrap compile. So it has successfully compiled. So here internally it used the Docker image that I just showed and then compiled this contract, and it created a folder called build under which you can see the compiled contracts. So here's this compiled contract and the storage, etc., etc. So this is as simple as that. And let's see how tests work. Any questions still now?
No questions at the moment. Thank you so much.
Okay, okay, good. So now let's see the test, right? Let's close this. So as I've mentioned, Chinstrap supports both PyTest and SmartPy to test smart contracts. So if you want to write a SmartPy test, this is the file format name. It should end with underscore SmartPy if it's a SmartPy test. If it is a PyTest, it has to end with underscore PyTest.py. So as configured, we are going to run tests in SmartPy, which is this. So it just creates a new scenario, starts the compiler, and then tries calling increment. It's very basic test. So if you want to run the test, right? So again, Chinstrap provides a subcommand called test, and these are the files flags. So you can just test one file at a time by using -t, or you can just if you just run Chinstrap test, it tries to run, it collects all the tests based on your configuration file, this file, and then it just compiles. So I'm going to just run Chinstrap test. So if you see, it has collected SmartPy, and then it just compiled it. So this is that simple to run tests in Chinstrap. And for example, I want to run PyTest, right? So you just configure it as PyTest, and then you just run tests. And originations is kind of very important for deploying it to mainnet or your local net to actually see what's happening. Like so. So here, if you see, I'm just getting the compile contract. When you call get compile contract from Chinstrap originations, it brings the compile smart contract here, the interface from PyTezos. So here you initialize the storage by saying chinstrap.storage.encode. This is the storage file, like the storage format in JSON for Tezos smart, like Michelson smart contracts. So then it returns, like you just have to return initial storage and the contract. Internally, Chinstrap calls this function deploy with state, network, and accounts. You can use either of these if in your contracts. For example, I accounts of 0.key.public hash. This accounts of 0 is this secret key loaded as an account, and then it fetches the public key from there, and it's assigning it to owner, and it's just keeping counter as 0 because this is the origination, like the deployment to actual network. So if you see, Chinstrap has this command originate here, Chinstrap originate -h. It has a lot of flags. So -o originate is the origination script that you want to execute. Again, same like this. If you don't provide any flag, it runs all the originations and deploys them. Network is the network that you want to run on. For example, you have configured 2 networks here. You can just run it like this, like originate -n Jakarta, for example, if you want to deploy it on Jakarta. If you don't provide it, it just picks the development. It just picks this by default if you don't provide a network. And so when you run Chinstrap originate -s, it shows if there's any contracts. It might, yeah. So there's no originations done yet. So let's try to originate it to our local sandbox. So for that, let's run a sandbox. Let's see this command. So this is the sandbox. Flixt is a sandbox wrapper for Chinstrap. So you can run Flixt as a sandbox, which supports Jakarta and all this. So yeah, in it. So to initialize the sandbox, it just runs -i. This actually initializes the sandbox. That means it's pulling in the Docker image of FlexDesa. Images. Yes, you can see that it actually pulled in here. Now, Chinstrap, let's try to start this. So this is a old network, old protocol, but we'll anyways try to start it. So here -P is the protocol name, -O is the port that you want to run the sandbox on. -C is create accounts. So I've asked Chinstrap Sandbox to create one account. So it has created one account. So you can use this private key here and a secret. So I'm going to use this secret for originations. So here TezAsia Sandbox is still initializing. It takes at approx like 1 to 2 minutes. It has to reach level 20. Only then we can deploy contracts. Only then the sandbox is ready. So by then I'll show before it initializes. So make the let's call this project Chin token. So here I will initialize it with initialize with no sample contract. So it will be an empty folder. So if you see there's no contracts, Chinstrap provides a command called template. Sorry, it's templates, where you can download templates from these languages, SmartPy, JS, Lego, Pascal, Lego, and all. Or there's one extra flag just to create FA 1.2 contracts. So I'm going to just do that just for this demo. -F. So it has created this contracts. There's a typo, I'll fix it. So contracts FA 1.2, it has sample origination file and sample tests as well. So if you try to compile, it's compiling FA 1.2 contract. Perfect. If you try to test, it's running tests on SmartPy. You can see this files here. So these are the FA2 tests. So it has successfully tested all these scenarios. Test passed. Now, if you want to originate, we need the secret key again. Let me get the secret key from this project. I'm going to just reuse the same secret here. Almost there. Originate. Let's do. Yes. So when the sandbox is ready, it just displays that sandbox is at level 20 and ready for use. You can just run Chinstrap originate. So here it has loaded the secret key from here. Okay, it's still initializing. That's there. So yes, TezAsia Sandbox takes some time to initialize. So we just need to wait. We are still trying to figure out what we can do about this sandbox, how we can make it faster. But till then, we have to cope with it. So yeah, the display, right? So here, if you see, I just ran Chinstrap project. By default, it picked up development network from our configuration file. It has loaded the private key, and then it fetched the wallet address. And that's the balance we have, which is this. Then it tries to compile and then originates. It's still going on. No, it's just taking some time. Any questions, Baru?
No questions.
No. Okay. Just going to try till it gets deployed. Yeah, perfect. Okay, it started now. So if you see it, that's the origination. Now it's waiting for the confirmation. So it's baking that transaction. So yes, sample contract is deployed here, and this is the total cost of the deployment. So for example, we are revisiting this folder, like let's say after like a couple of days, you want to see where your contract is deployed. So you just use this flag like originate, and then you show, like as the contract to show. It shows here, like it's deployed on development. This is the address. It was deployed on this date. This is the transaction hash, and that's the name of the contract that was deployed. So also Chinstrap checks the hash of the contract when it is deploying. So it prevents redeployment of the same contract. For example, here I'm trying to redeploy it, but it doesn't let us deploy it. because there's the same hash, like we did not modify anything in the contract. So it's the same hash as before. So if you see sample or samples origination, like sample contracts origination transaction is already here and is already originated at this address on this date. And total cost is this because it did not deploy. But for whatever reason you want to force redeploy, you just pass. So you just force it. So there's a flag called -f. So it just force redeploy it. So it just deploys that again. So let's try to deploy Chin token. So here, right, in the originations in FA2. So this is the metadata. It's just keeping account 0 as administrator. And then with empty metadata, it is initializing the FA2 contract. So Chinstrap originate -h, let's say. So just for, you don't have to pass development, just to show that we can pass that flag. I'm going to show it here. So compilation is successful, origination is here, baking successful, it's available at this address. So if you see, it has costed more than this contract. And also if you see here, we forced it, so it redeployed it at a different address. So this is how you maintain the life cycle and all. Again, like I won't be able to redeploy if I want to, because I did not modify anything in the contract. So zero. So this way we prevent duplicate submissions of the same contract. So this saves us some here, some money as well in the gas cost. So any questions still now?
No questions in the moment.
No? Okay. Let me stop screen share. I'll share 1 second. Yes. So share. So the repo is available here, Chinstrap. And also, let me show the website where we have all the documentation, everything available. So this is the website, chinstrap.io. We have all the docs available here, like try to clearly document installation usage, like every subcommand. So this is the compilation. This is how you start the sandbox. So it explains all the flags. This is origination, testing, and Chinstrap has an extra command called REPL, which is interactive. So which keeps, you can, so once you deploy it, right, you want to test something, or you want to call some functions on the contract, on the initialization. So you can use this REPL, which I'll show. So this is how it looks. It just started with Chinstrap develop protocol name, same as we did origination. It loads the config from your configuration file. It gets a balance, etc. So here we have these functions available. So here, right, as we were doing in our deployment or in the test, like we just call the contract, contract get contract. You get the contract interface. So internally, it's using Tezos for getting the contract interface. Even for deployments, tests, and all, it uses Tezos. So here with the Tezos interface, we can check these functions, we can call these entry points, we can call all these helper functions. For example, here I can inspect storage. So this is the structure of the storage for this FA2 contract. And I can get contracts from file, or you can get contracts from URL, or you can get contracts from the address. So for example, like this, you can get contract from address of any address. So if you want to call where you don't have access to source code, or like you want to call any random functions, so I can just use this interface to call those functions. And yes, so you can check out the blog. So here, this blog post goes through the same demo that I've showed right now, very basic setup. So here explains the setup, initializing the project, configuring the project, contract development, compiling, testing, origination, and cleanup. So here, right, let's say our local tests, our local tests are done and I want to stop this sandbox. So I just run Chinstrap sandbox -s. It just stops the sandbox. Like internally, it's just deleting, like stopping the Docker image, deleting the container, and removing it from the local project's state. So yes, so that's basically it. If you have any questions or so, like, please reach out to me in. So we have this group. Okay, this is like very basic overview of all the things we've done. So this is the steps, right? You first initialize using Chinstrap INIT, and then you write contracts either in SmartPy or Legolang, and then you compile using Chinstrap compile. You test using Chinstrap test. You originate, like you deploy the contracts to the mainnet using Chinstrap originate. After that, you interact with the contracts deployed, so which will be using Chinstrap REPL. So that's more like that's up most of the flags commands that we have in Chinstrap. So this makes the life cycle management of contracts easier on Tezos. So yes, please join this Telegram group. There's community over there asking questions and all. You guys can ask as well. Like mostly we are available all the time. And this is the website where you have all the docs, blog posts and all. And that's a Twitter account for Chinstrap. So yes, that's it. Happy hacking. If you have any questions or so, like please ask or like please post in the Telegram channel. I will try to answer those. And also if you have any feature requests or so, always there. So
Thank you so much, Daniel. Yeah, as what he mentioned, if you guys have any questions, you can always go to his Telegram or check him on check Chinstrap on Twitter. We will put the links after this recording as well. And yeah, thank you so much, Daniel, and hope we will have more of
thanks
you.
for the opportunity. Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
the
much.
opportunity. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Have
Good
a nice
day,
day,
everyone.
guys. Bye.
Bye.